What's up, everyone? You're listening to the RAS Project. My name is Ivan Temelkov, and I'm your host. On this podcast, we discuss entrepreneurship, personal development, family, tech, and marketing. Why in the fuck should you listen to this podcast? This podcast is for those of you who are looking for life-changing advice and ways to thrive digitally with your business. As always, all content is 100% real, raw, and unfiltered. So today, I'm really excited to bring someone who I've been following for quite a while on social media, at least a couple of years. And last I had him on the show was probably about a year and a half ago. So without further ado, I want to welcome the world's mayor, Mr. Joshua T Berglan. What's up, man?
Man, it's so good to see you again. First thing out of the gate, I want to tell you something. So there's two things. I was actually talking about you. I was telling my manager and / better half about you the other day, and I'm going to share two quick stories. There's two things about you that will always stand out to me. When we first met, I had you on when I first started doing my broadcast. I had you on with a few other people. We became friends. We talked. You got to know my ex a little bit, and when that whole thing fell apart, you and I had a bit of a falling out. And even though I didn't like what happened and it was a little bit off and there was some miscommunication and all that stuff, I still respected you for the stand that you took. But the thing that's impressed me the most is after having it out, going at each other's throats, having a little bit of a falling out, how gracious you were in forgiveness and kind of not only really, I think we have more of a friendship than we did even then before the blowout.
Yeah.
And I will always respect that about you, man. And the second thing too, and I watch you when we were talking off air, one of you said something, you've been watching what I've been doing in a non-creepy way, but I watch everybody too in a kind of a non-creepy way, and I've been really impressed with you, man, because you have been stretching yourself to find your voice. I mean, you've I think have expressed yourself in some ways that I don't think were always true to who you really were. But That said, we all go through that, trying to find what our message is and the direction we want to go, and at the same time, you're fighting the good fight and doing the right thing. I've been so impressed with watching you evolve and watching you grow and watching you take chances that a lot of people don't have the guts to do. I love what you're doing with your marketing. I love with the evolution of this podcast. I love how you are very family centered. I love your edginess and your rawness, but I love more importantly that family is very, very important to you. And I want you to know that has a huge positive influence on me, and it inspires me, because that is an area for me in my life that I've always been extremely weak. This is something that I'm, as I've gotten stronger and on a better path and a stronger path, and my foundation has gotten stronger and my heart has started to open up, family has become something that's now important to me. But there's certain people that I look to that inspires me, that goes, well, if that effort can do it, so can I. He's working, he's just as driven and motivated to succeed and to make his dreams come true as I am. So what's my excuse for not being a family man? And mind you, I don't really have a big family or much of a family right now, but the relationship situation I'm in now, I've got two little girls that are incredible, and my daughter's come back in my life and have a relationship with her. But you've been somebody that has been an inspiration to me, and also an encouragement, because you keep taking chances, you keep pushing, you keep fighting, you show up every day, you do the work. And that, my friend, is something that about 1% do. And I want to thank you for that, and also give you your props, because you deserve them.
First of all, thank you for that. That was literally one giant testimonial in itself, is what it sounded like. And a couple of things I want to share about that. A few things you mentioned in that I have personally learned, and you've been one of those people that I have learned this from. I don't know if you ever knew this, is that I know that one of your key words and something that you wholeheartedly believe in is forgiveness. And growing up, and I think also, especially over probably the last 5 years that I can remember, I've sort of, reminisced over what has happened in my life and how my life has really evolved from family to business to my personal brand to the edginess, which I get more, the more edgy I get, the more criticized I get. But what's mesmerizing about that is the bigger the opportunities that open up as a result of being more real, more raw, more unfiltered, just me, which I have always been at the core, but have been so worried about the judgment that the world passes and always striving to live up to expectations of society. And so, forgiveness was one thing. And the more I thought about it after, we did have a falling out. And then I realized, you know what? Fuck, Ivan, you're just as flawed as anybody else. You're just, you're a sinner like everybody else. And the reality of things is that you have two choices: is bygones be bygones, or rectify what has happened. And so that's why I really even reached out to you, because I think the consistency factor in you is really what I'm a big consistency guy. I've always have been. And anytime I see consistency in someone, it's an indication of trust. And trust is consistency. If people show up regularly, like you do with your show, and you've been consistent with your mission of what you want to do, who gives a fuck about everything else? Consistency is much bigger because, like you said, the reason 99% of people in life never succeed, the reason 80% of Americans work a dead-end job and never get to do what they truly want, is because they don't do the 1% of what the 1% do.
Yeah.
And that is be consistent, be relentless, be resilient in everything that you do. And this is why I've really invoked, I just a couple of days ago, I put out a fuck you post on Instagram. Literally about my opinions. And dude, what was fucking mesmerizing about this is that I had at least two people who criticized this, but I also had a shit ton of people that were like, dude, I'm so happy for you that you're coming out of this fucking shell and telling people that, you know what, I'm a no BS guy. And suddenly, get this, I'm seeing guys that I admire and follow: Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk, fucking Lewis Howes, and everybody else doing the same fucking shit. And you know what? It's not a coincidence. It's a constant, because the realest people in the world are the most raw, the most fearless, the most consistent. And so that post was really like, and I had some high hitters that liked that post. Guys that make fucking 20, 30, 40 million dollars per year like that fucking post. And so it really got me thinking about, and this kind of comes from you actually, that, winning and success is the best revenge you can have. Because what's really fucking ironic, let's take Instagram, for instance, is that I've got haters from 4 or 5 years ago that are fucking watching my stories now on a regular basis that I never blocked. Why? It's because I'm onto something. And so that's why, in part, I wanted to bring you back on the show, because you have been consistent with your mission, with your vision, in what you're doing. And that goes to great lengths in so many ways, in finding peace in your life, finding purpose, making sure that you have a clear why, or getting closer to that why. Because I heard you say about family, talk about that, you know what, I was never really, really family centric, but that doesn't mean that I can't be. So you're making strides in your life to make certain things happen, which is what most people don't, because they're just coasting through life.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, dude, you've done so much shit in the last year and a half. Give us kind of a Cliff Notes version of like, okay, a year and a half ago, you were doing Gratitude Unfiltered, which has now grown to great proportions. You're part of a ministry now. You've really gotten in tune spiritually, from a faith standpoint, which I hugely admire. Let's talk about that. Like, what are you doing currently?
So we came out, my product that had been developed, which was always a side project that I'd worked on for 3 years. We launched that globally a couple months ago. We are getting ready to launch once they open all of the malls in the Middle East and Asia. I'm really excited about that. It's the I Am Conchita Lash App and Curl, which is an eyelash applicator. But my personal mission has always been what mattered the most, because without that, frankly, what reason do I have to not go back to abusing cocaine and meth and being an idiot, And
right.
What purpose do I have? What reason do I have to live without my purpose? And I don't want it to sound like all or nothing, but really it is, because that's what got me out of the grave, and my faith and, my experience with Jesus that night in jail. And when I thought I was going to be there for 5 years, which that story,
Yeah.
It's like that the purpose is like, I made a commitment. The one commitment I've kept in my life, like that so far I've kept, because for the last 5 years, has been, my life is no longer my own. I'm going to quit living for myself, and I'm going to pursue and go and do what I know you as in God created me to do. And it's not always easy. You've got with your business and your show and your passions, it's a fight. And every time you think that you're right there, sometimes life happens. Sometimes an epidemic in the world happens. Sometimes life is uncertain. But I really believe in those moments, it's just refining. It's just testing. Like, how much do you really believe in what you're doing? Are you willing to look at the opportunity in these failures or these closed doors, or, oh, wait a second, this unexpected event happens. How are you going to respond in those moments? Are you going to give up? Heck no. If anything, this epidemic that's happened in the world has given me an opportunity to create more, get more focus, really build out more. I had a good foundation, but now that foundation is being built wider. I've been putting together a team. I have management now. I'm so fortunate with having the 2 different versions of my show. The one I do every day at 5 o'clock Central Time, but then also at Saturday night, getting to film 3 camera set, full production team, getting to film in front of a live audience and having it broadcast all over the world. I've been on the streaming media, but I changed. I moved over to E360 not because of how well known they are. I went over there because the technology that they have to do what I want to do with my show is there, even though it's not released yet. It's there, and I believe in the vision of the owner of the network. And I'm excited about that, to be a part of that and to get to build something with them, to create for people like yourself. I know Lauren Harris is on that network now, and but what I like about it again is being able to create, having the freedom to share my heart. And the other thing too is, speaking of controversial, we're controversial in different ways.
Yeah.
I don't curse, and any of that stuff. However, the subject matter in which I talk about is also polarizing, like what you do. It's raw. It gets to the root of it. There's no BS. There's no fluff. Like, this is how it is. This is what I believe. This is what I feel is right. And you know what? You may not like it. Like tonight, my show is about, people love to throw around Bible verses like they're motivational quotes. And people misinterpret the Bible and misuse scripture all the time, and they weaponize it to hurt people, to hold people down. And you know what? F that, and F religion, and F all of that. My beliefs, I'm a kingdom-minded man. I believe, like, my faith and my beliefs and what Jesus came here to do are something that, believe it or not, is more disruptive in the church than it is in the spiritual world or even the atheist world. It's no coincidence that the majority of my audience on all platforms are non-Christian. How is that when I'm talking about Jesus the entire time? So I'm really just standing. I'm getting stronger in my beliefs. My faith is getting bigger and bolder, and
Yeah.
I'm taking more chances than ever. But I'm not taking stupid chances. I'm taking those guided chances that the spirit inside me is calling me to do. But and like a lot of people that feel called, or they feel like they feel kind of inspired to do something, but they go, yeah, but yeah, I don't have any money. Yeah, I don't have this. Yeah, I don't have that. I'm like, you know what? If I feel this inside, that means there's got to be a way. I'm at least going to take a
Yeah.
step into faith and try. Like, why not? And you know what? I've publicly failed so much in my life. I mean, when half of my arrests have been in national news, like, I'm beyond embarrassment at this point. What do you want to
Right.
say about me? Like, what can you say that I haven't said about myself? So,
Yeah.
and I like that. And, you know, and again, like watching what you're doing, even though it's different content, it's like, yeah, he's, you know, like he's just speaking from his heart. Who cares what
Yep.
is coming out of it? It's his heart, and he's true to that. And that in itself, when you get to the root of it, all the words, all the things you say don't mean a thing. It's about your actions. So when you get
Right.
to the root of someone's passion, I don't care what it is, being around that and seeing that is going to motivate me to keep doing the same thing.
You know, that was a powerhouse of a statement right there, because you said several things that, even if you don't believe in faith, is equally true. But what you said was actually very surprising, that a vast majority of your audience are non-Christian. Because let's think about this for a second. Jesus Christ, right, is the most unexplained scientific thing in the history of mankind. Like, it's explained, but to most, there's a lot of people, like atheists and people that have no religion, that cannot find, they're looking for a scientific explanation, right?
Yeah.
So, but the reason you have non-Christian, you know, people in your audience primarily is because I think they know in some extent that there is a scientific explanation for this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what draws them in. Now, the other thing you were talking about is, I think in this day and age in society that we live in, too many people are so worried about other people's perception, how they act, how they dress, how much money they have, what kind of car they drive, how big of a house, you know, how pretty their kids are. I mean, what the fuck?
You have
Like,
beautiful kids, by the way.
thank you. Dude, I am, and I said it today, eternally blessed for that. Eternally blessed for that. Not only to have two healthy kids, let alone beautiful kids. The
Mm-hmm.
thing of it is just that the only thing, honestly, that I think everyone needs in their life is to be content with themselves. What does that look like? What does that look like to be content? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel happy? Do you have God in your life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you, even though you might be having money problems, like you were talking about, I think a lot of people look at money as the only resource that they can do something. That you need money to do certain things. And I will tell you this, in the last month being
It
at home,
helps.
well, it does help. Absolutely does help. I mean, the cliche fucking saying that everybody keeps saying is just that's the grease to the wheels, right? It's just that it moves it, but you got to have wheels in the first place, which you got to have an idea basically
Yeah.
to start out with. And then you need money to fucking get the ship moving. Now, you know, people wonder about like the polarization that I've really like stepped into now fully, and with the show specifically. And that is because I feel like that it's important to be yourself, whatever that version of you is, the way you choose to express yourself. And honestly, one thing that I'm also doing with the show is actually removing the people who are fabricated, people who are unwilling to accept me for who I am, because this is who I am. I've got nothing to hide. I already share a shit ton on social media because it's what's at heart. You know, I had someone that's a personal branding individual recently say, well, you're sharing too much. My FU post that was on Instagram was like, dude, if you want to maintain a sense of composure, call it, right, that you're going to remove that post. I'm like, why? It's who I am. I was sharing mainly that, people have opinions of me every day. Well, I think you should do this, or I think you should do that. Someone commented and said, well, what if people have positive opinions of you? And I'm like, well, obviously that's the exemption. That's the exception of the rule. It's the negative opinions that I was speaking to. You know how many of those I have? Prior to when, I haven't talked much about the story, but when 4, 5, 6 years ago, when me and my wife wanted to start a family and we found out we couldn't have a family naturally, and IVF was the only option, which caused me to go bankrupt after that. A lot of people don't know about this. I mean, 40 grand. Yeah. So 6 years ago, we couldn't conceive naturally because we found out that my wife had an ovarian dysfunction. It was unexplained. We could not, whatever we did, we tried for a year and we couldn't. So after seeing a world-renowned doctor here in St. Louis, Missouri, said, well, you're getting older, your chances are slimmer. You've got, a health issue going on right now. Your only chance is to do IVF. That's why both of my kids are two of the biggest blessings, probably the two biggest blessings in my life, is because even though it cost me 40 grand out of pocket to go through this procedure, $40,000 out of pocket. I filed bankruptcy after that. I've talked about it. And society was like, dude, my friend's blacklist on Facebook has gotten longer because the people I thought that were friends were like, maybe God didn't want you to have a family. Fuck you, block.
Why would anyone say that?
Like, why would anyone say that? That's just it, is the purpose behind this show and being raw and being unfiltered and being real is to tell the world that, you know what, accept me as who I am, or you have no place in my life.
Yeah.
I'm happy to inspire and motivate you. And what's actually ironic about that is the more real, the more raw, the more unfiltered, the more purpose-driven, the more why-focused that I am, is when more and more people start gravitating. You want to know why? You already know this because you've been on this journey yourself for years with gratitude unfiltered and knowing that you've wanted a show, you've had a mission, you've become a stronger man of God that has always been and now stronger than ever. But at the core, you've become more attached to your purpose and you've extracted whatever noise and distractions the world has created around that and solely focused on that purpose.
Yes.
And that is equally true to, anyone that I know that has achieved something monumental. Presidents lay everything on the line. Successful people, like successful, I guess, people that are rich, I guess, or if fucking, I don't know, a collection of 20 exotic cars in their garage. Ooh, I'm rich. I got 20 exotic cars, right? Josh, thank you so much, man, for jumping on.
Man, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.